Would you like a free home Bible study? Later, when you are fully indoctrinated, we will tell you how Jesus is not your mediator, and that there are only 144,000 going to heaven, and the governing body is always right, even if they go against the Bible, and they are special, and that if you go against them, your friends will leave you, and your family will shun you, and God will hate you. So are you ready to begin yet?
Today I want to talk about something that not too many people talk about, or at least, I haven't seen a video about this. So I hope, I'm not the only one that has been through something like this. But for a long time, I didn't want to have kids, because, there was a part of me that wanted to have a family, but at the same time, I knew that I wouldn't be able to become a missionary if I did have kids. And my end goal was to be a missionary, so kids would have stood in the way of that. Even from people that did have kids, they would come up to me and lecture me about not having kids and not getting married. They wanted me to stay single, but I never listened to them about that anyway, because I knew I wanted a husband. I wanted to be a missionary, and you can't do that if you're single. But it was just a matter of finding a spiritual brother in my circuit, because there were none to be found. Like, my circuit was kind of weird, and it was pretty much just all single sisters, but there weren't too many brothers at all. They tried to scare us into believing that the responsibility of being a parent was too much, and that if you ever did have kids, that just seeing them leave Jehovah would be the worst thing ever, So if you don't have kids, you wouldn't have to have that heartbreak. I remember this one story where a circuit overseer's wife actually told me this, that there was this brother and sister, this married couple living in Bethl, and she didn't know she was pregnant. But then one day she gave birth at the Bethl apartment or somewhere at Bethl, and she ended up having twins. She didn't even know she was pregnant with twins, but anyway, she had the babies, and then they got kicked out of Bethl. And it was such like a nonchalant thing, I guess. The circuit overseer's wife, I was like, I remember asking her, I was like, well, what happened to them, Well, did they have to leave? And she's like, oh yeah, they had to leave. But it was like no big deal, It's just part of the contract. Once you start having family, you can no longer pursue your kingdom career. I couldn't remember an exact article or something that came from the organization directly stating that we could not have kids. But then I found this article, and I'm going to share some points from it because it's unbelievable. I was like, wow, this is right on target. No wonder I never wanted to have kids, It's pretty much just comes out and says it's way better if you just stay single. If you don't have kids, it's so much better. Anyway, so the article is called, "Why Do They Have No Children?" And it gives an example of a couple who did not have kids, obviously, and the mother of the wife was concerned because they had already been married for a while, and she wanted grandchildren, And so she told the couple, she says, "You do such good things for me," she said to them. "You send gifts and you visit me. Those expressions of love are precious to me. But they distress me too, because I always wonder, who will do such things for you when you are my age? You have been married for 2 years now, and you have no children. Don't you think it's time for you to leave Bethl and start a family?" So, here's the deal. You cannot live in Bethl and have a family. If you want to pursue kingdom interests, or a kingdom career, as they now are calling it, you better not plan on having kids, because they will kick you out. They will kick you out as soon as you find out that you're pregnant. And then it goes on to say that she reasoned that unless her children had children of their own, they would in later years risk being lonely, unwanted, and impoverished, having no one to bury them when they die. This is a natural and well-based concern. Even in the JW community, growing old and dying is part of the world, is part of life. So if you don't continue on with the next generation, then who's going to take care of you? The elders? The elders are not going to take care of you, that's for sure. The second page quotes 1 Timothy 5:8. That scripture says, "Certainly if anyone does not provide for those who are his own, and especially for those who are members of his household, he has disowned the faith and is worse than a person without faith." And it says, Jehovah's people recognize that while there is joy in rearing children, there is also responsibility. So, parents have to provide materially and spiritually, and doing so is much more difficult in the last days of the system, when it's critical times hard to deal with. So that's why it's hard to have kids if you're a JW, because it brings on responsibility. You have to take care of them. You have to work more, probably. You have to make sure that they go to the meetings, make sure that they're studying and keeping up. You have to make sure that they get baptized. And, it's hard to do that when your kids are put into school where they're taught to think critically, and then they start questioning things, and then you're like, no, this is the way we're going to do things. And then there's a subheading called Why Some Remain Childless. Many Christian couples, on the other hand, do not have children. Some are infertile and yet do not adopt children. Other couples who have the ability to produce offspring decide not to do so, determined to give their full attention to different avenues of the full-time ministry that the rearing of children would not allow. Some serve as missionaries, others serve Jehovah in the traveling work or at Bethl. So notice that the organization makes you have to choose between having a family and having distinction and power within their organization. They have found yet another way to separate families by not even allowing the families to start in the first place. They just get rid of it entirely. And surprisingly, it has worked with a lot of people. Because they believe that what they're doing is right and that they're putting Jehovah first, but instead they're just pushing the organization. Well, this does not imply that it is wrong to have children today. Christian couples decline to have children so as to become more fully involved in the urgent work that Jehovah has given his people to do. Some couples have waited for a time before having children. Others have decided to remain childless and consider the possibility of bearing children in Jehovah's righteous new world. Is this short-sighted? Are they missing out on life? Are they to be pitied? Yeah, they are. They are definitely not living in present day. They are looking for a future that may or may not exist. They are missing out on life that's right in front of them. They're missing out on having and raising kids. They are to be pitied because they're not able to have that same joy that other people are. And it's really sad. It is so sad that they're doing this, that they're controlling people. They're controlling people so much. It's crazy. It's crazy. So then it goes on, and I guess the married couple that's from the beginning, they said that many people tried to still pressure them into having kids, and because they are concerned, because they are concerned about their future security. Well, in answer to that, the married couple, the JWs, said that their trust is in Jehovah, who cares for the welfare of all those who remain faithful and loyal to him, and their future is certain with Jehovah. Well, I hate to break it to them, but Jehovah isn't going to hold their hand when they're on their deathbed. Jehovah isn't going to pay for their doctor bills. Jehovah is not going to make sure that they're eating correctly, that they're taking their blood pressure medication. He's not going to do that. The elders are not going to do that. Maybe some close friends in the congregation would, but that still does not make up for the love that a child would show their parents if they were in this situation. So, yeah, it's sad that they put everything, they put their whole lives into this organization. Their lives are in the hands of the governing body. They can literally do and say whatever they want, and they would do it. The last paragraph says, although they have remained childless for the sake of kingdom interests, Jehovah has blessed them with a loving spiritual family that deeply appreciates the sacrifices they have made. Kingdom interests. You mean for the sake of the organization, right? The organization's interest is for you not to have children so that you can live your whole life dedicated to them, not Jehovah, not the kingdom interests. It's the organization, and it's a money-making scheme. But, of course, they leave that part out. It is as Jesus said, no one has left, literally let go of, house or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or fields for my sake and for the sake of the good news, who will not get 100-fold now in this period of time, houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and fields, and in the coming system of things, everlasting life. They're trying to justify their actions by using this scripture. Jesus said we would have to make sacrifices, and that sacrifices include your children. So why do JWs have no children? It's because the organization does not value family life, and it's because they want the adults to give them all their time and their energy. They do not want their adults to their workers to be divided in attention, because all loving parents need to take care of their children first before all things, and the organization wants to be way above that. So that is why they do not have children. So that's enough stupidity for one day. So, I've given up on waiting for Armageddon before I have kids. So, yeah, I'm glad I got out when I did, because, I still have that opportunity to have family. Yeah, comment below. Let me know your experiences with the organization. Let me know if, let me know what they encourage in your congregation, because in my congregation, it was not encouraged to have children at all, which is why it was just a bunch of old people. Except for us. We were one of the only families in the congregation. So, nice. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, talk to you soon.